X Soldier brings you today's video. Myrkul, Lord of Bones, versus Old Rutstein, Skullbriar, and Karametra. Not a single bit of blue or red mana in the game here, and as I always point out, it's a one-lander on Magic Online, as is typical. Two-lander, we don't have any Surveil lands here. Or actually, I don't think I added any Surveil lands to the list. I updated it a little bit just to make it bracket 3, but I didn't look at the mana base actually. Anyhow, this isn't looking that great, so I think we go down a card. Alright, that's better. I'm happier with that because of the Skyshroud claim. It'll take a while to get into that, but yeah, Kambal's pretty good. Let's keep. Can get down some tap lands. Bastion Protector, I think, is the thing to go. Kambal can hopefully buy us some time. Might regret getting rid of the Bastion Protector, but we'll play it out this way. Yeah, this deck is by far my most viewed deck on Moxfield, which is where I keep all my deck lists. I'm at nearly 10,000 views on it, so I thought, well, if it's so popular to view on Moxfield, then maybe it's popular to view games of as well. And, okay, this player scoops immediately, so it's a 3-player game apparently. We get a 4th land, which we need for the Skyshroud claim. Play the Tri-Skull land. There was a Wild Growth for the Skullbriar player on turn 1. And there's Opal Palace as well. He can't afford to put a plus counter on his commander with that. Oh, I'm thinking of the green one that taps and adds a counter to everything that entered this turn. He can absolutely have it enter with a counter here. And it does have haste, a 2-2. The sooner this gets commander damage going, the better. Probably not going to be a good game for us, seeing as how it takes us so long to get our commander into play. Anyway, he swings it into the right, luckily. And that puts us even further behind. A Sol Ring from Old Rutstein into Lightning Greaves, down to 5 cards in hand. Another dual land for us. We need plenty of mana, but we need to be trying to protect our board as well. I imagine he's got plenty of means of protecting his commander, although maybe he wants to help buff it. A Branching Evolution. It has to deal the combat damage at least, so if it gets double strike it'll be an issue. 3 damage to us this time. Down comes Old Rutstein on turn 3 and manages to get a blood token. We see Rise of the Witch King milled. Obviously puts the Greaves on there and cracks the blood token straight away, discarding a Molder Hulk. We've got triple white, triple black with Necropotence. I'm just wondering what duel to get here. We're going to have access to all the colours we need actually, so I think it's arbitrary. A Foundation Breaker can only deal with artifacts and enchantments, can't deal with this directly. I think I'll still get down the Kambal, even though it's commander damage that we're worried about. No evasion on the Skullbriar just yet, and he did miss a land drop on his last turn. Sixth Sense is an aura, going to drain him with the Kambal. And he's probably going to swing in towards us. Because of the Kambal, you do have to think about rattlesnake effects like this. That's Predatory Hunger as well. Whenever an opponent casts a creature spell, put a plus counter on it, so ironically Foundation Breaker blowing this up would put a couple of plus counters on it. Okay, I assumed incorrectly. He does go into the right, so draws a card, puts a couple of plus counters on it, and that ends up at a 7-7. Did manage to make a land. Old Rutstein triggers at the upkeep, so he mills himself a Deadly Dispute, which gets him another blood token. Lots of mana here by turn 4 though. We see another Wild Growth, so Kambal has knocked us up to 42, and a Sylvan Library, and he's going to have to put life into that as well, but he might be willing to do it thanks to the impending commander damage. Okay, we get a Grand Abolisher. That's Savannah into Skyshroud Claim. Will put us on 6 mana, 7 next turn, so we could afford Myrkul. Do we want to get a token copy of this, because we could play it here, but maybe it's just worth the Grand Abolisher instead. Can we get a couple of untapped white mana? I don't think we can get white mana. Well, we're going Skyshroud Claim regardless. No, we've only got Temple Garden and Bayou thanks to drawing into the jewels, unfortunately, so definitely want Bayou. I think we can shock down the Temple Garden as well. And I'll hold on to Foundation Breaker so that we can hopefully play it into the Myrkul, even though that's a few turns away. I'll hold up Plumb the Forbidden. We might even have to take a turn off with our commander if our opponent gets into some kind of evasion for this. He might have an aura that gives it trample or something. There's lands that can give shadow and stuff like that. He spreads the damage. Looks like we're taking it in turns. So we go up to 10 commander here, although we can still block at least. I'll be much more tempted to block after our commander is in play. So he draws a card, gets a couple of plus counters again, and decides to hold up his 5 mana, which I assume is a means of just protecting his commander and leaving it in play. Sylvan Library, 29 life for this opponent. A forest has been milled in order to make a treasure token off the Rutstein, and then plays Mindrack Demon. So that will trigger the Predatory Hunger for another couple of plus counters onto this, making it an 11/11. It'll mill 4 when it enters as well. So now has 5 card types and 3 creatures in the graveyard. It's lands, Mind Stone, Oracle of Moldiah, and Honest Rutstein. Lightning Greaves goes on the demon, and I don't think I'm going to crack the Plumb the Forbidden. I think I'm going to hold on to it and hope that we survive. We can at least block with Cabal, hopefully. Cabal coffers when we've got 4 swamps, so if we play that, get 4 mana, 5, 6, 7, I think that's fine before we end up milling it. A couple of plus counters on the Predatory Hunger creature again. So we can be one shot at this point. We just need to hope that it doesn't become unblockable. Hopefully it's not relevant that we could have got down Grand Abolisher with a little bit of luck, because there is priority being held up here. Looks as though he is doing something. Is he going to kill Cabal? Because that's our only chance of staying alive here, really. Yep, Putrefy onto the Cabal. So that's where it's relevant that we couldn't get this down previously, thanks to just drawing into the wrong lands in the wrong order. So it looks as though our opponent's aiming to get rid of us next turn. That just forces us to block the Skullbriar next turn. And then a Plaguecrafter, so yeah, we definitely can't do anything here. And taken out by the Golgari player. We see a Gala Greeters for Old Rutstein. He milled as well. The Swarm Weaver obviously sacrificed the Mindrack Demon to the Plaguecrafter. Plays now a Daemogoth Woe Eater. At the beginning of your upkeep, you sacrifice a creature. When you sack this creature, each opponent discards, you draw and gain 2, and creates a tap treasure token with the Gala Greeters. So he's making some chump blockers at least. Lightning Greaves onto the Woe Eater this time, which is a 7/6, and swings the 7/6 into our opponent. This thing is now a 19/19 by the way. A Bane of Progress now. This is going to get a bunch of plus counters on it. It won't take out the creatures though, but it will deal with a bunch of stuff on our opponent's side of the field. It's gone down to 17, 5 cards in hand, and decided to float black mana, and that is Infernal Grasp. This will keep the counters on it when it goes back into the command zone, and it will only cost 4 to recast, and it does still have haste. Doesn't look as though our opponent had a means of evasion, so he's kind of buying himself 2 turns there, although apparently not. Did that mistakenly. That's why your timing matters. Had he have done Infernal Grasp during the beginning of combat, he wouldn't still be dealing with the Skullbriar here, but Reanimate allowed him during the main to bring that back. And weirdly, he didn't swing in with it for some reason. He could have got rid of a blocker there. I'm guessing he doesn't have a means of evasion if he didn't go for it straight away, so should really have been swinging in. Daemogoth has to sacrifice a chump blocker, and decides to sacrifice itself so that he doesn't have to keep sacking his blockers, I imagine. So makes an opponent discard. He manages to draw as well. He will mill also, makes a treasure when he mills a swamp. So still a decent amount of mana over here. And that is a Grave Pact, so if that might be a really good answer to Skullbriar actually, if he can get the other cards he needs. Because I don't imagine Skullbriar is exactly going to flood the board with creatures, and it'll get through Heroic Intervention and Tamiyo Safekeeping, stuff like that. Makes it difficult for Skullbriar to swing in without it being lethal as well, because he can block with a couple of things and make him sacrifice it. Anyway, this will be a board wipe eventually, plus counter on a creature, and it becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. Oh, its next turn it will be a board wipe, so this goes down to artifact removal now at least. And then if this guy's looking to load up his graveyard, which you assume he is, then exiling all opponents' graveyards is really good against him as well. So it's a mill with the Old Rutstein again. We'll see if he can get into some kind of sack outlet. Mills a land again, and the board wipe is going to force him to sacrifice the Skullbriar, but the haste is what makes this really good as well, so he can just replay it again. It hasn't gone back into the command zone yet, so it'll be blow everything up with this, sacrifice this, to the Grave Pact, 4 mana, play it again, swing in. Alright, so Assassin's Trophy onto that is going to hopefully drag the game out for a few more turns. That's probably the right move. And then a Gloom Shrieker. Return a permanent from graveyard to hand. Makes a treasure token with the Gala Greeters. And the enchantment creature is pointed at Honest Rutstein, which I think when it enters can return a creature from graveyard to hand as well. Mana Gorger Hydra, more plus counter shenanigans, which still seems like an odd one to me. I mean, can understand Bane of Progress. I don't really get the point of Mana Gorger Hydra. You just want to be definitely hitting your opponents for commander damage. So encouraging the block with Bane of Progress. I mean, that just, you might as well block here. It's going to force him to sacrifice something decent. Might even block with 3 creatures here, especially if you're going to fetch something out with the Honest Rutstein. Yeah, I think I definitely would have blocked with 3 creatures there, force him to sacrifice the Skullbriar. There's a Slippery Bog Bonder, which doesn't help, apart from give you more sack fodder. A Hexproof token onto the Skullbriar, and then sacrifices that to the Grave Pact. Only 1 card left in hand over there. Mills a creature for an insect token. That was Braids. It's probably going to be a good idea to fetch out and play this turn. Makes a treasure token with the Gala Greeters upon the insect entering. Plays the Honest Rutstein, and it is when it enters, return a creature from graveyard to hand. Gains 2 life with the Gala Greeters, and does grab Braids. So that's effectively going to be a sack outlet for him. And I think he'd have his opponent in a really tricky spot here had he have ganged up on blocking that thing. Sakura Tribelder sacrifices itself as well, that's really good. He can still afford the Braids. So amazingly, he's going to get out from underneath this, seemingly. If the other player had decided to play it out from turn 0 onwards, then maybe we wouldn't have been taken out so quickly either. He was spreading damage around, to be fair to him. But this seems to be an interesting game anyway. I think I will show it to all of you, even though we got to see absolutely nothing from Myrkul. So sacrifices a token, gets rid of Bane of Progress. Noteworthy that this thing does have trample, so if he was able to transfer some counters onto that, it might be a scary threat, but I just think you want to concentrate on making this unblockable. A Tectonic Edge. I think this can only get rid of non-basics anyway. Yes, it can. Yeah, I don't think I've ever built this. I'm curious to see if any of you would want to see me play it at any point. A classic from the original Commander set. Old Rutstein continuing to gain value. Mills a Putrefy, that's the second one we've seen this game, so a blood token. Gloom Shrieker swings in with Menace, just has to let this through. And then Lord Skitter's Blessing. When it enters, create a Wicked Roll token, and at the beginning of your draw step, if you control the enchanted creature, lose 1 and draw an additional card, and decides to throw that onto the Gloom Shrieker. So that would encourage him to block. That is a 3-2 with Menace now. So he either takes damage and gives card draw to the Old Rutstein, or he blocks, gets rid of the additional card draw and has to sacrifice something. And Elves of Deep Shadow as well. Triggers the Greeters again, that's done some work as it tends to. Tap treasure token again. And then Braids is going to sacrifice a creature, you have to imagine. So that will deal with one of the creatures here, gets rid of the Mana Dork. And he can easily crack Steve during combat to force him to get rid of Skullbriar. Okay, gets rid of Skullbriar now. That will switch off the artifact clause at least. Turn it back into a regular creature. Plays a Harmonise, so goes up to 4 in hand. Then he will be able to play his commander with the Opal Palace, putting it up to 20 points of commander. Not that that matters anymore, although maybe it will if blockers are concerned. And then just decides to scoop and pass the game over to our opponent. He's just not going to keep Skullbriar in play as long as he can't deal with Grave Pact. Yeah, I think if I was to build Skullbriar, I wouldn't be bothering with Mana Gorger Hydras and things like that. It would be removal, evasion, and a means of buffing the Skullbriar much faster, obviously, which our opponent did do there. I think that was a fun game, not what I was intending, of course. I wanted to show off Myrkul, seeing as how it's a popular deck on my Mox field. Like I said, if you do want me to play that, then I will give it another whirl. But let me know what you think of seeing a Skullbriar video as well. I'm trying to play some older decks before the new Final Fantasy set comes out, so let me know what you all think. Big thank you to the patrons for supporting the channel. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.